Then another question?
I've got a comment, I think it is here.
Yep.
I've got a comment about the power of this community and how it's going to be upset by what in effect is a closed, gated community in here, where they're going to have private roads and private garbage collection and a terrible increase on the traffic and the difficulties of this community, which is a strong community-minded community. Thank you.
Yes.
I haven't heard anyone say about the parking for shopping up here. Have you seen? It's full now on a Saturday afternoon. And that's just with the local traffic, you know.
Can we have one of the councillors maybe comment on that? Maybe not.
Basically, as I understand it, there are 4 extra shops to go in to the development, and my understanding is that there will be parking increased to allow for those 4 shops. Other than that, that's the proposal as I understand it.
Well, according to SNL's plans, it's going to go where it used to be. Okay, I might field 2 more questions and then we'll ask a question. You got 5? Let's do 5 fast ones.
So I'm just going to flog a dead horse about this technicality of the road and traffic because I've been reading it for about 2 months now. The allowance for background growth was 1% to maintain an acceptable level. This development with 210 people will treble the number of residents that grew in the last census. So over the 5 years of the census, it grew 2.9% with 73 new residents. This is 210 new residents in one development alone, not counting the others. So if you treble that, it puts you over the 1% allowance for background growth that was determined in the traffic report. The traffic report also has figures on Lonus Avenue and Warren Road that are over desirable environmental capacity. Not quite maxed out yet, but there are fairly limited accuracies in the report because of the time of measurement for PM, which saw a decrease in what's usual because it was a Tuesday sports day. But there are also other factors there where the numbers don't add up, the numbers are using different numbers for different things. It's quite flawed and it really does warrant a whole lot of other analyses on a whole lot of other intersections that have not been considered. In the DA, the first statement, basically the traffic report was, we're not going to worry about the shopping area. It doesn't form part of this traffic report. Why was that?
The commercial area was excluded from the traffic report purely because at this stage we don't have any known occupation for those uses. So different commercial uses will have different traffic generation rates, and it's typical for those to be done at a DA stage for the actual use and fit out of that development.
Wade, I just want to take you back to one of your first points about the size of the actual attendance here today, measured against the 20,000 you count in the wider area. If I just refer everyone to the map behind, if you look at the dwellings on that map and expand it by double that, and then compare it to the size of the representation here today, I would say that this is a significant turnout and a unanimous one to say that we want something changed.
Yeah. Not all the council.
Could I just ask, Wade, firstly, what does SNL stand for?
Can't hear you.
Good question, but I do believe it's the initials of the owner of the company.
And what's the name of the company, please?
Livingston, Simon Livingston.
Oh, SNL, Simon Livingston. And do you have a website? Does it have a website?
No.
Simon Livingston doesn't have a website.
I don't think Simon actually knows how to use a computer, so a website's certainly out of the question.
Well, then what is your role?
My role in the company is to coordinate all of the application processes through council. We've got a few other sites. So I prepare the development applications, do the liaison with council, and work to the point where we get a consent issued, and then pass it on to the other staff for the construction side of it.
So how can we get your traffic report?
I can either send you an electronic copy or it's available on the council's website.
Oh,
incredible. How do you expect fire trucks to get in these narrow roads? Have you got private fire trucks coming along?
There's a bushfire report that's dealt with that issue as well. So the threat and dealing with the bushfire is about providing defendable space between the assets and the threats.
And if it's not a bushfire, it's a house fire?
Well, again, the internal roads have been designed to accommodate certain design standards for vehicles, and my understanding is that that will accommodate fire trucks.
If you take the parked cars, because they've got nowhere to go, the provided garages are so minimal that both sides of the roads, especially that internal lot, will be completely parked out with 2 metres for a car to go between parked cars. It won't take a fire truck. That's
The internal road's been designed with no on-street parking. So as part of the DA process and the community management agreement, there'll be no parking in areas where the road hasn't been provided for that.
So where do you expect those people's cars to go?
Well, they'll park in their garages, within their driveways and the stack garaging, and they'll park in the visitor parking.
But do you accept that visitor parking, but they're residents, do you accept that there will be likely to be an average of 2.5 people per dwelling? And the 2 of those people will probably be adults and both of them will have cars?
Yes, and I think there's only less than 10 of the dwellings that don't have accommodation for 2 cars.
Well, there's 28 in that middle section, 28 dwellings.
Yeah, and they've been provided with two car parking spaces.
Not according to the plan.
I'm happy to sit down with you and discuss that detail, but...
Yeah, I'd want to follow up for that too, Wade. If you could just confirm, now it's my understanding that SNL actually project managers for the actual developer, which is Simhill Living Proprietary Limited, which is co-owned by Hilton Grujon and Simon Livingston. Is that correct?
The assessment of the application, so if
it's
it's
I think it's in the best interest of the community that they know who the developers are. Who's actually engaged you to prepare this?
Well, I've taken my directions from Simon, who's obviously an entity in that. Whether or not Hilton has got an interest and what that interest might be, I can't tell you.
Well, he's a co-owner of Simhill Proprietary Limited.
Well, there you go. You've just answered your own question.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to hear you answer it, Wade.
I might just quickly follow up. For people who don't have the internet or are having a lot of problems downloading the plans from Council's website, all the plans and documents are on Council's website. You have to use their DA application search. But for those who don't have the internet, and the plans do take a long time to download, it's quite a large file. We've arranged for the plans to be on display at Charlestown Library for anyone who doesn't have the internet or can't download it. So you can go to Charlestown Library. You don't have to go out to the council building at Spears Point.
Wade, could I respectfully ask, if you and Simon lived in this area and in Lonus Avenue around this area, would you be so blasé about our concerns? And do you receive any government money for this development?
Certainly not aware of any government money we receive, but I'm sure we'd be willing to take grants if they're on offer. I do live in the local area and...
Not close enough to worry.
Well, I do frequent the shops quite often and I travel through this area quite regularly as well, and my kids will ultimately go to Whitebridge High School, I suspect. So, yes, the development would be exactly the same.